I'm Dr. Godfrey St. Bernard, and I'm the acting director of the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies here at the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus. Coming to the university in the early 1990s, I came with a PhD in social demography, and I felt, that it was critical to upkeep and to pursue and to continue the rich tradition of demographic research that had begun as far back as the 1950s in the Caribbean. And I've had my fair share of engagement in research activities focusing on issues of fertility, mortality, migration in Caribbean societies. My research has focused primarily on examining population dynamics and creating linkages between those findings and implications for population policy in several countries in the Caribbean region. I myself have had engagements with assisting several countries in the Caribbean region in the development of their national population policies, starting as far back as in the late 1990s, and based on much of the research that I have done focusing on the dynamics of populations, human populations in many Caribbean societies, and indeed some of them in Latin America as well. I could also say that, much of my research has extended beyond just looking at human populations in a general sense, and much of my research has now gone into looking at population dynamics and related consequences as they relate to youth populations, as they relate to child populations, as they relate to populations in education systems, including the university. In fact, one of my more recent presentations looked at, the role of population dynamics in Caribbean societies and what it would mean for the future of an institution such as the University of the West Indies, and how that may impact, future enrollment, future staff requirements, and future activities in relation to how perhaps, the university should evolve in the context of internationalizing its programs and its efforts and so on. So what I'm basically saying is that, when we think in terms of demography as a discipline, it moves beyond, just looking at human populations, and it could also be applied in the context of institutional populations and understanding, how the various components of change in size of populations within institutional settings impact positively or negatively on institutional arrangements and the goals and objectives established within institutional settings. I dare say, insofar as we talk about, population dynamics, populations, when we think in terms of human populations, key characteristics of human populations, key attributes of human populations come to us. We think in terms of human populations according to whether individuals are male or female. We think in terms of human populations according to age characteristics. We think in terms of human populations according to religion, ethnic background, place of birth, and the list goes on. But what is interesting about understanding all of these elements of human populations is that such elements are also associated with and related to attitudes and behavior that manifest themselves in so many various dimensions of human life. And I think, we ought to take all of this into account as well. In terms of the future, in terms of, the next generation, I would think, every discipline in and of itself has moving targets with the passage of time. And I think, notwithstanding the 30, 40 years that have passed since I entered the arena, I think it is still alive, and there are many viable options for the next generation to come on board. I think, it has given me a rewarding career of where I was engaged in teaching and research and administering professional services in the policy arena in Caribbean and Latin American societies generally. I have been well integrated with the statistics community in the region, and I think, I have done very well in that regard. I think the future is alive, and as technologies evolve, particularly the information and communications technology, I think in this day and age when we speak about, a massive data revolution that is taking place with respect to big data and machine learning and all these new advancements that are impacting, statistical and data preparation and data analysis arenas. I think, younger generations can find fruitful ways in terms of embracing, in many ways, their interests in terms of applying the principles of demography and the principles of statistics to solving the real-life challenges that are bound to beset the world and the Caribbean in particular as we advance toward the middle of the 21st century. So I think with this I have said my piece, and I hope it is well said and well appreciated. Thank you very much.